All right, joining me now here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my good friend Maya Schenwar. Maya is a journalist and the author of the book Locked Down, Locked Out, Why Prison Doesn't Work and How We Can Do Better. She is the executive director of Truth Out, which you can find at truth-out.org. You can also follow her on Twitter at Maya Schenwar. Maya, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
All right, so Maya, you recently wrote a piece for Tom Dispatch, which was actually republished on Truth Out, about different types of imprisonment other than just having people behind bars at different types of facilities. Just tell us about the piece.
Yeah, I think that I wanted to write this piece right now because all of a sudden, or at least relatively recently, there's been this upsurge in excitement about bipartisan prison reform, that all of a sudden Charles Koch is super excited to reform the prison system, and everyone's like, yay, everyone agrees. But that's so not the case. And oftentimes when conservatives are advocating for prison reform, they're advocating sometimes for a decrease in incarceration, like the physical confinement of people in buildings called prisons, but they're not actually advocating for a shrinking of the system as a whole. And so many times what they'll advocate is, for example, locking people convicted of drug offenses in drug treatment centers, or locking people in facilities that are supposed to be helping them. In California, they have these women's villages that they're thinking of building for, like this idea of treating people as opposed to punishing them, but you're still locking them up. And in this article, I look actually beyond that at the ways in which particularly private companies have been involved in incarcerating people in ways that are even less visible than locking them in buildings. So, for example, electronic monitoring, house arrest, ways of policing that sort of imprison people in their communities. And also I look at sex offender registries, which are ways of kind of confining people in the community and imposing massive surveillance under the guise of public safety.
Well, let's dig into some of these here. Let's start with kind of home detention and electronic monitoring, because there's actually, you write about, you mentioned Marissa Alexander, who we've covered on the show multiple times here, and how while home detention is preferable to being in some type of, state-run facility, there's actually a lot of problems with it. So tell us about it.
Yeah, well, I think the first problem with it that I see is that it's actually increased the number of people who are confined in some way. So oftentimes now someone will be arrested and assigned a monitor who otherwise would not be put under any kind of confinement. So they wouldn't be incarcerated. They might be kind of let go on supervised release, but instead they're put on a monitor, which in most cases kind of just confines people to their homes. So you can't leave a certain radius. Otherwise, you're actually in danger of going to prison because authorities will come and deal with you in that way. So electronic monitoring has gotten really popular. It's one of these things where people say, oh, technology, more technology, good. That'll help save us from whatever problem with mass incarceration we're dealing with. When in reality, it's expanding the population. It's also expanding kind of the range of what we consider okay surveillance-wise. So electronic monitoring in many ways is kind of a constant warrantless search. This thing is always on your body. It's strapped to your ankle, usually. And so ordinarily, if you're in a situation where you're at home, there needs to be some sort of warrant to come in and search you and look at exactly what you're doing and track your movements. But in this case, it's just always there. And I think one more problem that we should really be wary of when it comes to monitoring is the fact that in more and more cases, these monitors are not only manufactured by private companies that profit off of the use of them, they're also controlled by private companies in the way that people who are monitored are paying for their confinement. In many situations, and this is the case with Marissa Alexander, people are expected to pay more than $100 a week for the privilege of wearing this monitor. So that's kind of expanded definition of payment. Like you're in prison, you're like, well, I'm paying for my crime. On an electronic monitor, not only are you paying with your restriction of movement, you're also literally paying cash.
Yeah, when I read that, I just got, it's crazy. So like it's $105. You write that Alexander most likely by the end of her imprisonment will have spent somewhere around like $16,400 on her own surveillance here. So if these people are supposedly confined to their homes, how are they supposed to get $100 a week to pay for their own monitoring? That it's one of these kind of like catch-22 bits because, and essentially, so this sort of like cycle of where do we expect these prisoners who, for one, oftentimes can't leave their house. If they do try to go get a job, they have a giant blinking light on their ankle that like draws attention to this. How do we actually, again, how do theoretically, just in theory, how do we expect them to actually pay for it?
So theoretically, they're supposed to be able to, in many cases, not all, leave the house for work. So for this very narrow, like, okay, you work from 9 to 1, you can leave at 8:45 and get back at 1:15 or whatever, and we'll be tracking you the whole time. However, most of the time, the vast majority of people on a monitor cannot get a job. Because who's going to hire you beyond the fact that you have a criminal record and are usually on probation? You have this thing on your ankle you have to disclose, and it follows you everywhere, and people just do not get hired. So usually what happens in terms of the fees is that family members are saddled with them, and most family members of people wrapped up in the criminal legal system are poor. So this is just another burden on them, besides the fact that they're probably housing this person who's on monitor and expected to pay for their food. Again, another difference with prison is, you know, not that prison's great, but you do get fed. Get fed there. You don't get fed when you're on a monitor. You don't get housed. You know, so it's like, it's this weird thing where you're expected to pay because you're in the, quote, free world. So that means, you know, well, you can get a job. No, you usually can't. And then also the other thing with this kind of this supposed freedom is that other things like access to legal resources are not provided. And so these rights that you have in prison, even though they're so meager, they're not actually provided for people on monitors. So you're paying and you're also denied additional resources.